Welcome to Gray Mason Gaming Play Solaris. This is the Andron Vacarni galaxy, and as you can see, the game is over. We're using the time machine to go back in time and tell this one story. And in this game, I spawned right in the center-ish. And one of the differences on this month's is there's no defensive bonus. No defender bonus, and no wormholes. And the map is irregular, it's a blob. So really, this game, you're at a huge advantage to be on that border because you can send all your ships the other direction and you don't have to worry about your flank. It's ultra dark, but because the game's over, you see everything. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here for now and just focus on what I saw. And right out of the gates, in cycle 0, here, tick 1, I saw maps. And I instantly allied with maps, who was already working, said they would work with bad musicians. So I'm like, great, the three of us, we will work together. I reached out to NNK and said, hey, let's ally. Sweeper, hey, let them work together. Sweeper was agreeable, NNK was agreeable, Brob O'Duke was agreeable, Pancakes was AFK, and MI was AFK. So that was my initial take. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to go down to these AFKs. I'm kind of friendly with all my north and see how it goes. And so as we started progressing through this game, it became very clear right away. And I was very impressed with Sweeper, who, when they saw that we were going to have a conflict, they just gifted the star to me. I'm like, okay, I can work with I can work with someone who's going to play like that. One thing I did not like, however, was even though NNK and I said we would be at least have a non-aggression pact, I had launched on this a long time before. We'd been in conversations, and then he did this. I'm like, okay, that's how it's going to be. We're going to get there at the same time, but you're bigger, so you win. And I didn't really like that, of course. But I'm like, okay, I see how it's going to be. Down here, I also had a conflict, and I had to build 2 industry on a star that wasn't ideal to be able to defend this, because again, no defenders bonus. So I had to get enough ships down here to defend this. And they had sent ships without paying attention, but I took a little bit of a hit there. The wormhole, this gave me some good initial vision of what's going on around me, and at this point we're in cycle or tick 11. I'm already fairly well established. You see this where now the AI already took over and started sending crap at me too. So this hurt me early on. This aggression without a defender's bonus, it left a mark. And so I'm going to end up losing a star. The star that I had built up, I had built this in, not anticipating the computer was going to do that. That sucked. So I lost 3 industry or 3 economy, and I have to deal with MI. So this was my first initial piece. But we are now at the end of cycle 1, and I have a good 3-player alliance. Now, one thing that happened is Sweeper said they would work with us, but then they said no, they're going to work with someone else. NNK was going to trade with me, and then they said they wouldn't. And so then I heard through the grapevine with Bad Musician that Sweeper knew about Hatchet being to their east, to the north of NNK. So I'm like, okay, there's a threesome there, and they want to work together. So I knew NNK was going to be an enemy and someone I could not trust. And so that was out of the gate. I knew a long-term enemy. And so Brob was new, and I wanted to booster them up, but priority 1 was dealing with these AIs down here in the south. So that's where we get to on cycle 1. Alright, we get into day 1 instead of day 0, and you can see right out of the gate NNK attacking Brabaduke. And so I knew I was, even though they weren't going to be part of my alliance, I needed them to be strong because NNK was a long-term enemy. So I was myself pushing here in the south while helping Brabaduke. Now, I probably should have just more fully dealt with it, but my fear was I lose out on these easy stars. And you can see Raz is getting these stars, and Raz is dealing with another AI. It was in this cycle that I learned about pancakes came back, but they were still hardly there. They told me about Raz. I saw Raz at this point. He saw me, and we basically brought Razator and Beppo on board. I knew Beppo was in a corner. Those were two, and I'm like, well, he's in a corner, so let's bring them on as allies 4 and 5. And we will eat up these AIs. We're neutral. Maps was also friendly with Lycentia, and this Macarena was attacking Bad Musician. Bad Musician had a bit of a rough start, and she ended up having to drop out shortly. But Baps was a great ally and helping her out as much as he could. But we move through this cycle, and you can see I don't have visibility to what else is going on in the world, so I'm not going to really focus on what's happening in the rest of the map. Even to the point of this leaderboard is, you know, I had no idea what was really happening. But we get to the end of cycle 1, and so here we're at tick 40, and we've pretty much removed I'm on my way to take their capital star, so that'll be capital star number, well, I have 1, number 2. I've been helping Brabaduke, but at this point I'm like, he's gonna die because he said he's getting attacked on multiple fronts, and so I said, well, let me go ahead and grab some stars as well. So that's what I did. I started to head out. Now we're moving into cycle 2. So in this cycle, really the main things that are happening is Razatori has to deal with his AI. We're finishing off these AIs. Pancakes isn't an AI, but is still not really playing. And let's go through the next 20 ticks here. The main thing from my perspective is what's going on here. It's get these stars, get as much as pancakes as I can, and help Brabaduke. And then if I can siphon off these 5 stars over here, that's what I'll do. Now, not only that, so I get this star, and this was with the permission, though, of Brabaduke. He's basically said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And I wanted to get this. I wanted to get that black hole, and I wanted to get his capital. As you can see, there was a lot of fighting going on here, and a lot of damage that was being done. And Brabaduke actually put up a pretty good fight. It was this time that Bad Musician also said, hey, I missed the economy, and I'm busy in real life, and I just need to give my stars away. So it's going to be soon where she starts just giving up her stars, and I think you'll be able to see when map starts to go up there. But the fact that she had to dip so early really hurt us, because again, this is the center of the map here, and that just means we're not going to be able to get the benefit of all of her stars, and the enemies will. The enemies will. Maps is also fighting Makara. Beppo is just sitting here, not doing anything. I was like, hey, let's start attacking pancakes, and he just not very active. But you can see here, I'm gonna go back one because this is important. This is Brabaduke willfully giving me his stars without a fight. He agreed to let me take those stars so the enemy didn't get them. And you can see what NNK did is he took an explorer, and he just went down this embankment here, and took all those stars to cut me off from the rest of Brabaduk's. Now, I'm like, okay, we have a non-aggression pack. I can't attack you, but since we had allied up, I certainly can go through you. And once I realized that that was what was happening, I took my 52 stars. I'm like, okay, I dare you, NNK, to unally me. Because what I'm going to do is I'll just take your wormhole. But what really is happening is I'm heading over here to this capital star, and I'm going to capture that. And if you want to make me an enemy, then you can blow me up, but you're going to be the one that suffers, and then I'll just take all these stars. And they knew it because they were weakened, and I took stars for free. And so if we look at NNK right now, I'm a couple stars up, not a ton. I'm a little bit of ships up, but not a ton. We were pretty close, and we didn't want to fight each other yet. I still wanted to get pancake stars first. I had started talking with, because of there was a pulsars up here. I knew Master Iron Hero and Mask Q was up here. I was trying to start getting a sense of what this looked like, and I wasn't getting great info at this stage of the game. But this is going to end up being the pivotal part of the map, this northern part, for the future. So, let's move on then. So now we're going into day 3. We're tick 60. And again, I don't know what's going on elsewhere, but I know we need to clean up Pancake. So my goal now is to send everything I have down to Pancakes, try to get as much of this as I can. And I said, hey, Raz, why don't you take some stars? Beppo, why don't you take some stars so we can, you know, just resolve this quickly? Because I was feeling confident about my western border, especially with Raz on board. The Pink Prince took over, so that's fine. So Raz has a real person to deal with. And I said, let's kill Pancakes quickly, because Brabaduk is also falling quick, and Brabaduk was offering up his home star to me. And you can see what happens here. Here comes my ships. And there's really at this point not a lot that NNK can do. And Rack can't really do much either. She was trying to bring some ships in. She doesn't know exactly what's in the nebula, and but because we knew there was about 60 some ships in there, he was going to suicide his ships into the nebula and allow me to get the home star. At this point, they can't attack because I'm allied up with them, and I'm just sending more ships in, and then eventually he sends his ships into the enemy and abandons the next turn. And at this point, I'm sitting pretty. I'm an allied temporarily with Pancakes, but I'm moving into position. We're far enough in tech ahead of him that we could start taking his stars rather easily. And so I'm looking good. I have my home star. I have AMIs. I'm about to get Pancakes. I just got Brabs. That's 4 capital stars right here that I'm about to get. And so let's go ahead a little bit further into this. It's hard to see, but Brab did try to do some damage up here, but he kind of failed. Beppo still, he started taking a couple of stars, but not a lot. I was really nervous, and I was nervous that Beppo was really with us this entire game. But you can see here I finally did take this one. I was moving in to get this star here, and then I was sending in ships to take the capital. And what's important about this now is Pancakes is essentially dead. He was sending 106 ships into NNK. I'm hoping he'll just try to kill him and just let us have the stars. But let's take a quick look here at tick 88 And if we look at the leaderboards at this point, I'm sitting really good. I'm at 74 industry because I've got so many of these capital stars. Let's go back to who else is high up there. T12. 74 to 38. I am very large at this point in the game. My tech is above most of them. My industry, there's no one else that has this many capital stars. I'm sitting really good. Abby Normal had a really nice start. I'm double their size. Now they had a lot more, because they're sitting in a corner, they had a lot more economy. But I was sitting pretty good at this point in the game. Who else was big? Beppo was big. Way bigger than him. Way bigger than him. I was a monster already, and we're taking 88. The problem then, of course, is what next? And so I was fearful because it was about this time that, okay, we've cleaned this up. I need to keep growing. I can't just sit idle. And we brought Licentia on board about this point of the game because we realized, you know, a bad musician was essentially gone. Maps got some of the stars, but a lot of it went to Ozzy Niner and Sweeper and Makara. And so, while I grew and Raz and Beppo were all strong here in the south and Maps, we needed this push to fight against Shredder because he's a strong player. And he was holding on strong, but we're like, let's finish this bottom off, and then Razatori and Licentia can push west. Well, and then Maps, you know, he's fighting Makara. Beppo and I can push into NNK and Racked, and we should be good. That was the plan. I knew I was big. I just need the north to keep Hatchet and the rest of whoever, you know, Sweeper and everyone else busy, so they couldn't just send everything against me. And that was what my plan was to do. We're pushing out here. We'll go forward. You can see at this point Pancakes is gone, but he is allied with NNK, so I'm like, great, he's going to become a vassal. That's not good for us. I'm asking for Beppo to move his ships up, to build some ships, and at this point I still don't know if he's really with us or not. He kind of is just sitting there, not doing much, and it made me really nervous. He kept saying he was with us, but then like I would give him money for manufacturing, and he would wait almost every time I'd send him money, and like the next cycle he would send me it, and he would upgrade his stars with my money that I sent for manufacturing, which obviously is like, I'm not a fan of that, but that was what I was dealing with down here. I know he's a good player, but he said he was busy in real life, and clearly after the fact, after the game, he said, yep, that he was just busy, but that kind of was unfortunate because I was so strong. He's like, he wanted to build up, and I'm like, I have a huge advantage. I want to press on this now. I spoke with Abby Normal, who said they're kind of playing this neutral group, but they were big, and I'm like, okay, well then you attack. And what I didn't know, and I don't know exactly where it happens, but at some point Abby Normal negotiates giving up 1,000 ships to fight me to get 3 stars from this Eastern Alliance, which again did not help. But more importantly, I got a sense of who was left and who was who. And at this point I'm like, okay, we have Jason, Clear, Shredder, Elysian, Macaria. So that's 1, 2, 3, and Skate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the Western Alliance. They've got at this point, this is Lanyon, Dum Dum, Gimme Gum Gum, is putting up a fight, but can't win because he's just isolated. We know that these two are going to be pushing into us. Makari is pushing into Maps and here. Clear and Alex are pushing in the north. So we need this north to put up a good fight. And so I started feeding them tech because they were newer players, and these northern groups needed some help. I needed this northern group strong because they were fighting the same West and Eastern Alliance that we were fighting. If they hold out and hold them at bay and keep pressure on Hatchet and T10, then with Beppo and I pushing here 2 on, it's not pushing 2 on 5 because they have NK, Racket, Hatchet, T12, right, and Sweeper. So that's 5 on there. We have 5. The North has Traveler, Aussie Niner, Mass Q, Waven picks up. Yeah, so they're only at what, 3? Oh, Master Niner, so 4. They're 4 in the North. So they were the smallest and the weakest alliance, and I was feeding them tech in hopes that that would create enough pressure on the map that these two had to put all their focus up there so I could deal with and resolve NNK. So let's fast forward a little bit. We can actually stay pretty big picture here for a cycle or so. We'll see what's going on. Bad Musician is a vassal for map, so we are getting those extra tokens at least. You can see they removed Lanyon from this Pulsar, so I couldn't feed him tech. I was a little too slow in doing that. This Northern group finally is getting rid of this green player, but you can see Clear and Alason is pushing into the Traveler, and the Traveler has not enough support. And oh, that person went AFK. Yeah. Down here, it was tick 120 that I'm like, okay, Beppo kept wanting to like build up, hold off. I'm like, well, I know the North is dying. If we wait while I have this huge advantage in terms of industry, we're just going to let them catch up, and then once the North is gone, then all 5 can just turn and focus on us because we're kind of the central position here. What I want to do is before they can get killed off, let's take advantage of that diversion. But Beppo never, ever attacks this whole game. So I end the non-aggression pack and said, screw it, I'm going in anyway. And at that point, you can see what happens is NNK realizes he's behind and starts to seed his stars to Hatchet. The idea here is Hatchet now is going to grow, and they're going to be able to get a weapons lead over us because they'll fall behind tech-wise otherwise. And then you can also see other people are starting to, all right, let me see what's going on. Let's get some scouts down there. I think it was tick 133 before we could attack. Now, I don't know if this was the right move or not, but in my mind, if I don't attack now, the game is over. We sit idle. Like, where else can I go? I wasn't comfortable keeping a non-aggression pack with the East and sending all my ships against the West, because as soon as I get all my ships from here over there, they just end the non-aggression pack and kill me. And I had some good stars here, but they weren't going to last forever. So what I did is here was my logic. I said, if I put a war machine down on this star, that's going to give me a huge boost in manufacturing for 2.5 cycles, and then it's gone. If we lose this front, they have a crap star. If I win this front, I have their stars, and I don't really need that extra 10 industry anyway. Maybe it was bad logic, and obviously if you can take it without losing a great star, then that's ideal. But I said I want every advantage I could get. Oh yeah, and I think this is where, right when this happened, oh, maybe that wasn't where it happened. At some point, he's going to gift his carriers over as well. So the battle starts, and I start making some great progress, as I would have expected with my advantage. Beppo at this point is moving some ships up, which is outstanding. I'm like, oh great, he's going to join the fight. Oh, look at this. He launched on this after I had already, like, whatever. I'm like, but I needed him. I said, Beppo, just kill Racked. Just kill them, and I'll worry about NNK. That's what I wanted. Meanwhile, over here, they were still kind of in a deadlock. we'd been making some progress, but you know, it was a scary proposition, and so Razzatori was sending ships west to help Placentia win or defend this front. When we ended this non-aggression pact with the east and Sweeper, Maps also then created one with Makuhara, because they had this long border with each other, and we need to kill Sweeper because Sweeper is central, and then once Sweeper's gone, we're hoping then to expose, you know, that's one less player and all that. Now, what I didn't know, like if you look at this point in the game, Shredder and Clear are the two largest players by star count, and Shredder is pushing into my team, and Clear is pushing into a weak north. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I just knew that Beppo couldn't get west. I didn't feel I could get west, so we had to quickly as possible clear out the east. Now, if Abby would have actually attacked them instead of not helping them, that also would have helped change the game. But they were playing their own little game at that point. So I made some great progress over here, and at this point I'm up at 38 stars. Razzatori's at 45, so the Southern Alliance has got some power. And even though they may have more stars, I'm still 20 industry ahead. And I'm still, move this away, clear. I'm still 30 industry ahead of the second place guy. So I am big. And as far as RK or T1, you know, I'm 40 more stars, you know, 100 to their 60. I am big, and no one is. I could fight off probably 2 of them, but what I can't fight off is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and that's essentially what happens. Is the minute I ended my non-aggression pact with the East, and I was talking to Mask and Master Iron Hero and Ozzy Niner, I said, I'm going to help you. I've dumped all my tech to them, and said, this is to help you guys. Please fight the East. I'm going to fight the East with you now. As soon as I did that, they created a non-aggression pact with the East. Master Iron Hero, with his 6 stars, said, okay, non-aggression pact. So then that meant instead of them putting up a fight and actually helping out the people that helped them, they just delayed by a day or 2 their own death and made it so that the East could just focus on me. And that's what happens. Is I was making good progress, but then you can see what happens is 800 ships coming from T12, because he doesn't have to defend, he doesn't have to push into the north because they made a non-aggression pact. Hatchet can send down his ships this way. He doesn't have to send his ships up to the north because they said we want a ceasefire. The minute I attack, they ceasefire non-aggression pact, so their entire alliance. Beppo isn't doing anything. He sends some ships up to the border, but like this is literally the only battle he has this entire game. So Maps and I are like killing ourselves trying to push on these guys against 5 while Beppo's sitting doing nothing, and we're getting pushed on by the West. So it was already at this point getting a little bit scary. Let's go ahead and bring this leaderboard back. And you can see here, while I gimped an NK, you can also see this is going to be some Rack does some gifting of carriers. Yep, so right, so they're sending ships to NNK. We have the Hatchet sending in ships. Abby Normal sent over ships. T12 sent over ships. Even though I was individually strong, I couldn't rally the North to coordinate with me. I couldn't rally my own team to attack. So if you look at this point here, let's take a quick look here. What happens when this goes down? So at this point, we have 600 ships. Easily could have taken this. Could have pushed into here. have pushed into here and started to like mess with the back lines. We knew that they had a lot of ships up front, but I was defending this. They could have pushed in, and they could have sent all these other ships up north, but they sat idle, and Beppo basically didn't help. He sent tech. He never sent me ships. He never really attacked, even though at this point here, he could have pushed into this. And if they defended, I could have pushed into that. Like, we could have pushed into that together. These 400 ships were to defend against this eastern borderline. We could have pushed in together between the two of us, right? So he's 140 ships up. We had enough ships to push into them if we would have, and we had a huge advantage. If we would have started to chip away at Racked, right, then we connect with normal and then gave them tech and then have them help push north into T12. Totally different story. On top of that, well, but that's not what happens. What happens instead is Beppo sits idle. The Eastern Alliance continues to push, and I'm just going to do a kind of a bigger jump forward. And then Shredder and Jason start to make a big play. Once the north here with Clear and Elysian start to make progress on the north, they're all crumbling. And even though Sweeper's still small, he's still small. Collectively, Shredder, Clear are still the largest. Hatchet grew enough and got enough, and they started to pull ahead in weapons on us. And I lost a lot of the ground that I had made. Pull back again. And so exactly what I was fearful of, because I ended the non-aggression pack and they create a non-aggression pack, the West basically had no one fighting them. Because T12 and Hatchet spent so much time stopping me, they ignored the North, didn't grow in the North, let the West grow. And that's fine if I was a bigger threat. So it was at this point, about this point, that I said, a little bit before this point, what I said was, we are losing ground here, we're losing ground here, they've gotten too big, the North is gone. Who do I want to win? The West was willing this whole game to really work with us, multiple agreements, they honored their agreements. The East honored their non-aggression pack, but then when I tried to say, hey, we need to stop fighting, can we stop so we can focus on the West? They ignored me and suicided into me. So I said, okay, I can't work with the East. I'm not going to let them win. I was willing to cease fire and stop the fight so we could stop the West from getting too strong, but they wouldn't. They just kept attacking me. And so I'm like, all right, fine. We're going to accelerate this. And so Maps, Placentia, and myself all abandoned our stars, and we pushed all our stuff east. And you can see, and we gave the game to the West. Now, I didn't know Clear, Makara, Shredder, Elysian. I didn't know who was going to gain from that, but I said, I don't care. I want to protect Razatori. I got him some of my stars, and my hope really was Raz would also get some stars from Beppo, and Razatori would win the game. That was what I was hoping, but Beppo wasn't active enough to do that. NNK wasn't that strong. Hatchet, I mean, at this point, we knew the East was going to die. I was just hoping that Razatori could get big enough to put up a good fight. You can see right now he's third place, but essentially once it got to the point here where Hatchet started to lose his stars as well, and T12 was like, you can see Hatchet's losing his stars. The East is like, yeah, we can't defend against this. Sweeper's losing their stars, Hatchet's losing their stars. Beppo is still just building up his ships and not attacking anybody. Racket, same thing. They're just in this little love match, just staring at each other. And you can see Clear and Shredder are on the borders, and they're like, yep, the game's over at this point. At this point, everyone requested to quit because they knew, there was nothing else really to do. So it was only 277 ticks. It was a very quick game. And Clear ended up winning. He bested Shredder, who I thought it was going to be one of those two. Akara got third, so good for them. Elysian fourth, so 4 of their 5 players on their alliance got the top 4. I was happy that Razatori was able to sneak in for a 5th place. To me, that's a moral victory. That's one of our people got higher than anyone in the East or the North. So the winning alliance got the top 4. We got the 5th. Jason, Abby Normal played a neutral game and actually did fine. Was never a contender to win, but high in the leaderboard. And then you got some of the people, T12 is the highest in the East. I ended up, what am I at 3 stars? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. Who cared, right? I just did not care. If I'm not going to win, my goal is if I'm not going to win, I want my alliance to win. So I was still trying to get Razatori to win. I thought there was an outside chance. And if I can't get my alliance to win, I want to dictate who's going to be the winner. And because the West was willing to work with us, the East refused to negotiate with us after I broke the non-aggression pact originally. They were no longer willing to use any diplomacy. I said they're not worthy of the win. Let's let the West win. And they did. And that's it. Your experience, if you played this game, may vary, but this was my perspective on the Andron Vicarni Ultra Dark, no wormhole, no defensive bonus game. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, click on the link for the next episode, and don't forget to click subscribe for more content.